안녕하세요. 여보세요. 감사합니다. Limelight, new group, not just to me, but like literally new, like debuted just a few months ago, I think. So I don't know anything about the group, but they're with 143, which is where Icon just moved to. So this, yeah, it should be interesting. It should be fun, right? Let's check it out. It's a 3-piece group, which is like they're not the first ones, but it's feels like it hasn't been done in a while, you know? I mean, you got usually like 4, 5, 6, 9. You know what I mean? Like usually there's more members to a group, but 3 is just one of those numbers. Like 3 parts, you can have true harmony, you know? So let's see, you know, what they got.
Oh, I don't know you, but I will like you. Can't you feel that I'm in love? 시작할게 너의 소리. Honestly, oh, don't you feel my love? 이름 모를 이 감정 솔직해져 by yourself. Like chemistry, 눈이 닿은 순간에 느껴졌었던 emotion. Oh, maybe we call it elevation. 너의 꿈을 담은 satellite. 계속 주변을 맴돌다 이제 너에게 다가가 baby step by step. Oh tell me honestly, how can you tell me easily? 천천히 말해줘도 돼, just stop beginning. Yeah, even more honestly, I think I like you. Actually 느낀 그대로 말해줘 투명하게 show me. I don't know you, but I will like you. 너와 나만의 movie. Don't you feel 이제 시작인 거야. 첫장을 열고 싶다면 tell me. 솔직한 게 필요해 나. I can't show but I can breathe. 이걸 넘는다면 we can love. 너 꿈을 담은 satellite. 계속 주변을 맴돌다 이제 너에게 다가가 baby step by step. 우리 사이에 서 있던 불안한 감정은 gone. 내 안에 내가 Tell me honestly, baby, can you tell me easily 널 기다릴게. 천천히 말해도 되니까 tell me love. Even more honestly, I think I like you. Actually 느낀 그대로 말해줘 투명하게 show me. I don't know you, but I will like you. Can't you feel that I'm in love? Can't you feel, yeah. 너 꿈에 가득한 satellite. 계속 우리의 주변을 맴돌다 이제 네 안에 빌 수 있게. Yeah. 멀지 않아
they're tiny. They're definitely, they have that that new gen type of sound and quality and aesthetic and everything. Yeah, but they're teeny and tiny. Like they're super young, super maknae. But they're sound good. Yeah, it's like three piece. But they did have good vocal work, definitely. Choreography. They kind of remind me of Stacy a little bit. I do like the guitar, that like riffy sort of chords that are going on there. Sound like some drop D guitar. But it's an interesting mix too. Like those massive sort of drums that come in, like with so much reverb. It's like a really big sound. It's huge. Kind of reminds me of some like 2010 stuff, from the West anyway, like the sort of stuff that was coming out over here around that time, like the 2010s type of sound. Everything was like huge and choral, and like, everything was made to sound like it was like it was Skyrim or something. Like it's just huge and so much reverb, echo, like it's like someone's performing it in between mountains or whatever. But it's an interesting like way to approach that and put it into the mix too, as like a contrasting part, because a lot of the song is quite warm. It's I didn't know for sure what to expect, them being such a new group and everything. It was actually a lot warmer than I think I was sort of or than I would have thought otherwise, right? It was a much more organic sound. The vocals aren't bad. They're really not bad at all. And most of the mix sounds, that like played, like the percussion, the guitar work also. There's a lot of, like elements of this that sound like it would be really good live. Like put a band there with the group and have them play these parts and everything, and it would probably be like really, really good, So so starting off in the classroom, so it's like, okay, they're teeny and tiny.
Oh, I don't know you, but I will like you. Can't you feel that I'm in love? 시작할게 너의 story. Honestly, oh, don't you feel my
The rhythms are really interesting. 1 and 2 and 3, only 4, and like some eighth note subdivisions, little triplets feels in there, little triplet group dropped in the middle of the measure. And especially in this first part, because I was trying to count it, and there's not really a strong accent on the 2 and the 4. The percussion is doing something else here. Instead of using like a sharp hit right on 2 and 4, there's a little bit of a rhythmic device that's going on here. It gives it kind of a shuffle feel, but it is doing the same thing that sort of accent thing would do by keeping you on track as far as the beat goes.
love 이름 모를 이 감정 솔직해져 by yourself like chemistry 눈이 닿은 순간에 느껴졌었던 emotion maybe we got lit.
See, it isn't even, it's like when that hit comes in, the real accented hit, that's like the and of 3. It's not. It's so syncopated. Like the rhythms are actually super interesting. In the rest of the song, like when the second verse comes around, you have 2 and 4. Like you'll get accented beats on 2 and 4, but this beginning part is really different. Like, it's really interesting the way that they've used the rhythms here. The light sort of muted guitar sound kind of reminds me of like a U2 or something like that, like the way the Edge kind of plays guitar. The percussion, though, it's the rhythms, and then it already has a lot of that expansive type of like sound with the reverb and in the way that the hits all ring out, like all the different percussion sounds that you have. Sounds like it's in a really big space. It's quite an interesting intro section with the way that all this mixed from the rhythm to the production and everything. It's it's really warm and it's really soft, but like these aren't necessarily the types of like instrument choices and things that you would use to do that with, or the rhythm structures either, but it still manages to do it. It's rather interesting.
Tell me honestly, how can you tell me easily? 천천히 말해줘도 돼, just stop beginning. Yeah, even more honestly, I think I like you. Actually, 느낀 그대로 말해줘도 more show me. I don't know you, but I will like you.
And then there's that buzzy type of synth sound now that's coming in. It's playing a hook, and it's the same rhythm. It's that 1 and 2 and 3 dolly 4, and that was in the vocal at the beginning, but now it's this synth sound that's going on. It's very buzzy. Sounds like it's more right and rather high in the mix, but it is one of the main hooks of the song. Good kit sounds. These drum sounds. See the rhythm shift. Like all of a sudden, it just sounds like really massive, right? Like the verse section that was going on before this, a lot of that reverb wasn't present, and the biggest sounds that you had were like that little riffy guitar part that's going over the chords, and then of course the vocal rhythms, right? But the space sounded much smaller, and we get to this sort of pre-chorus section, and all of a sudden, because of the drum sound, it just like it gets massive, like it sounds huge all of a sudden. Very tricky to keep it balanced because the vocal dynamic hasn't really shifted much here. It's almost like it shouldn't fit together, but it does. Nice guitar work. Good licks. Tell me honestly, baby, can you tell me easily 널 기다릴게. 천천히 말해도 되니까. Tell me love. Even more honestly, I think I like you. Drum fill. 느낀 그대로 말해줘도 show me. I don't know you, but I will like you. Can't you feel that I'm in love? Can't you feel, yeah? 너 꿈을 같았다면 satellite. 계속 우리의 주변을 맴돌다. 이제 네 안에 필 수 있게, yeah. 멀지 않은 찬란한 6월 시작하는 거야 with you. Bridge section. Okay, so see, there's that electric guitar now. It sounds, it's playing lighter notes. They're still muted. it's a much more narrow, soft sound compared to like the main sort of riffy thing that it does. But the chords that we're getting now are piano chords, and they sound like, you know, that's made to be, like it might be synth, but it really sounds like strings, like, you know, like an actual piano sound, the actual instrument sound. And they're playing whole notes. The guitar is doing some more syncopated subdivisions as far as the rhythm goes, and then we just have the vocal, and there's some lighter synth stuff going on in there, but it's not that's not really the main part of the mix here. But again, it sounds much more like intimate than when you get to that massive percussive sound that comes in like by the pre-chorus. It's nice though. It has a very it's sweet. It's got its own charm to it. There it is. It's good. So that high note, right? While that she's singing that part there to sort of wrap up the bridge section, and her vocal line is ascending, and the other vocal line is going on, starts to, you know, come in before that one finishes. As that high note is reaching its peak, your other vocal line, da 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 da, that's rising up, and by the time before that note finishes on that sort of peak, that high note, it's almost like the higher voice stepping back and the other vocal part stepping forward, because they switch. Compression goes up on that melodic line, the high note voice, and it's lifted off of the other vocal line. They almost, you know, like trade places in the mix, kind of. It's subtle, but it's very smooth. Take him. They're good, man. They're good. They're good. They're teeny tiny, man. They're like they're definitely a recent gen group, but there's in this song, I'm you know, this is the first time I'm hearing them, so I'm referencing this song, and there are parts of it that remind me of Stacy. There are parts of it that remind me of New Jeans. Like, they definitely have that, you know, fourth gen feel to it. Like, you know what I mean? Their whole vibe, their sound. Everything's it's almost like, let me see. It's to varying degrees depending on what group it is, right? Like different groups have different approaches, but if you compare it to third gen groups, the vocal works in a different way. Like, and it's good. It should happen this way. Vocal, you have to remember to think of it as an instrument sound, because it's what it is. Vocals, it's an instrument. A singer's instrument is their voice, right? And they work a different way in fourth gen groups. It's not the same, and it's cool. They don't, I have to say, like, the song isn't defined completely by what the vocal is doing. It's still important. It's still, going to be the main part of a song. But with this one, for example, when that synth part comes in and starts to play that hook rhythm, right? That da 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 da. It's really got the hook. Like it the vocal has it in the beginning, and then when it comes back around again after the chorus, or during the chorus, the synth takes it over. The synth is your hook, right? So the vocal swaps out its sort of command of what the hook is with the song, with that synth part. It's just a different approach, man. And it makes sense. It makes more sense than it doesn't, because there has to be some sort of signifier, some differential from one gen to the next gen. And that seems to be what it is, really. But they do it well. They don't, like, their vocals are good. They don't sound bad at all. And it's really good that, I mean, there's only 3 of them, but it's got as much presence. It's got as much, it's as strong as a group that has even 6 members, or, you know what I mean? Like twice as much. Again, with 3, as soon as you have enough to make, a tertian chord, right? Because once you have 3, then you can start giving it tone qualities, either a major sound or a minor sound, right? And you can just make it happen with just 3 voices. It's actually really interesting. A lot of things about this song were super interesting. Different approaches in the rhythms, different approaches in the mix. Like, for the instrument voicings that are used, the different instrument sounds, from the riffy guitar, an electric guitar with like light distortion on it, to a very almost acoustic piano sound, like a not a synth sound, but an actual piano. The punchy percussion that comes in, because you have like that huge, massive drum sound. Okay, well, that sounds much more analog, right? But when the verse comes around and you start to get that real solid rhythm with 2 and 4, like boom, ta, right? Like the 2 and the 4 are accented. That sounds much more like pads, like the electronic drums, right? So like the mix is made with all different kinds of sounds and elements, and not necessarily what you would think to make something that's sort of warm and sweet and a bit nostalgic and everything, but it works. And it's interesting too. Like, it's a different approach. It really is on many levels. But it's good. Like, it actually is really solid stuff. I enjoyed that riffy guitar sound. The hook it's good. I like that it changes from, places like that between a vocal and like a synth part that's going on. And some of those more subtle production elements too. The high note, the peak, right, and that melodic line there, vocal line switching with the sort of secondary vocal line, right? The way that they sort of trade places, almost like one stepping, who was out in front and then traded places. The other one came and stepped sort of out in front. It's interesting. It's like super interesting. It's not it's not any one aspect or element of the song or the production. It's kind of a different approach all around, which again it makes sense, because there has to be something different from one gen to the next, and it's starting to make sense in terms of like the entire approach to all of it, right? To everything from the bottom up. Like, it's a different thing that's going on, but they're good. It's good. Yeah, Limelight, honestly, it'll be interesting, man. The thing about these newer generation groups is that they're so tiny. And by that I just mean young, right? Like they do they do everything in tiny right now, and it'll be interesting to see them grow and what what are they gonna do? It's curious. It's an interesting thing, but it's actually really good. It's really good. It's interesting. It's I feel like they have a really strong take on what that more recent gen vibe is or whatever. And it was good. I look forward to seeing, like I was saying, where this goes, where all these newer gen groups go. But this is interesting now, man. The 3 parts, yeah, it's interesting. That was cool. Limelight, honestly. Yeah, as usual, I try not to have any expectations or whatever, because I just don't know right ahead of time. But it's really good, man. It's really good. This was cool. I look forward to seeing more from this group. It's gonna be interesting.